I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. So welcome to today's episode. We have Mitchell Steinke, who is originally from BC, from Vancouver in Canada. I first met Mitchell in Tagazout, Morocco, was it October or November last year? October, and we were both staying at a really cool co-working spot there called Sundesk, and just had a really lovely experience, like-minded on a lot of levels, and certainly enjoyed spending some time together. And it's awesome to have Mitchell on the show today and a chat about all that you've been up to, where you're currently at, which is the Ivory Coast. So Mitchell joins us from the Ivory Coast today. So welcome, Mitchell.
Thank you.
Hi, Mitchell.
James.
Tell us about, so why do you find yourself in the Ivory Coast right now, Mitchell? What's happening in that part of the world?
Well, I mean, like everywhere else, we are in lockdown to a certain degree, not as heavy as Europe, but I found myself here basically traveling. I'm backpacking with just a 40-liter backpack. I thought, hey, I'm gonna go hang out in North Africa. That's where I met you, James, and got connected with you. And I spent 2 months in Morocco, and then I thought, I'm gonna go down to West Africa as a digital nomad, somebody who works from my computer and can work with a cell phone connection. Luckily, I'm not like some people who, got to upload, download huge files and work from home. I've got that liberty to, not have the restraint on all the data I need to download. So I thought wherever I have a cell phone network connection, I can go work. I had heard of nobody who would dare go to West Africa and try what I was about to try. There wasn't even shit on the internet saying like, oh, what's the connection like? How can you do this? What's the data prices for a gigabyte? Nothing. I just thought, screw it. I will go down to West Africa, landed in the Gambia, and I took a week off from all my contracts, all my clients. I just said, nope, no one talked to me for a week. I don't know what's going to happen. I might need to fly back to Morocco. Like, who knows? Turns out it worked out all right. I could go down a rabbit hole for a while, but I just decided to come through West Africa and be, if not the first, one of the first people who's digitally nomadic traveling through West Africa. And it's been a hell of a journey. Like, incredible.
Just before we talk about digital nomad, has anyone else got a ticking on the audio?
Yeah.
Do we know what that is? You have not?
No.
Is it coming from your mic, possibly?
I think it's Mitchell's mic, maybe.
It's like he's banging on some. That sounds fine at the moment, yeah?
Shall we see how that goes?
Yeah, so digital nomad. That's quite a title for anyone that doesn't know what digital nomad is. What's the sort of definition? What's the official? What's that mean?
The official. I feel like everybody has their own definition in a way, but if you made it general, it'd be, you're able to make an income from your laptop and you are nomadic. Like, you move around, you're exploring. That doesn't mean you're like ripping through stuff. Oh, 3 days here, 3 days there. Check, got that done. What? See that? That's done. Like, could mean you're moving, living somewhere for 3 months, a year, moving to another place for 6 months. Like, but that's really what being a digital nomad's all about, and getting to know the communities or the places and people you get to meet along the way. I mean, depends on where you go. If you're going to Central America and you're going to hang out in like Antigua in Guatemala, you're going to meet a lot of different expats. But if you're somewhere like West Africa, for myself, I mean, you can imagine pulling up a laptop with a cell phone on a beach in West Africa, and the kids and fishermen are like quite literally like surrounding you as you're trying to get work done, because they're like, what the hell is this guy doing? So it's been pretty crazy.
So
yeah, that's what a digital nomad is.
I'm assuming that's literally happened to you then.
That has literally happened to me, yeah.
Brilliant.
That seems like the ideal, right? You hear a lot of people, business leaders, be on stage, and I don't know, sort of like Gary Vaynerchuk, he'll talk about these passive income kind of philosophy, and there's so many people selling packages online about how you can have all this passive income, and people thinking they can put their feet up and smoke weed in Jamaica on a sun lounger for the rest of their life, and it doesn't seem it's just like that's reality. And I mean, you've kind of touched on that. Looks a little bit like that, but I mean, what in reality, what the hard times, what the real stresses of being a digital nomad? Because I imagine, I know, speaking from a bit of personal experience, the adventure's amazing, of course, goes without saying. But give us insight into some of the annoyances associated and linked with being a digital nomad, Mitchell.
I would say some of the downsides. I mean, it's not everything in life has pros and cons, and I think people totally miss that when they think and they go striving to be a digital nomad or work on their computer. Some of the obvious cons are, we are able to connect and have a whole entire community, and you provide value to the economy or markets online, which means you don't spend your day engaging, creating value naturally. Like, you're not incentivized to do that in person with interactions you're having with people in the physical realm. And that can be really challenging for people. They get stuck in that rabbit hole. They go down it a million miles and they get lost. Fortunate for myself, I feel like I've recognized that pretty early on, and I've been able to get on other side projects that I do in the communities where I'm at to engage with people in a physical sense, because you lose that disconnect with the real world when you're a digital nomad. And then there's obviously all the other random shit, like your tech. Your tech has to work. If it doesn't work, you can't provide income and you can't provide value for your clients or people online. So those things are real. I mean, I showed up to West Africa, didn't have my phone unlocked. So I had to figure out how to get that sorted out, get that unlocked, realize that the guys in West Africa, in Senegal, they only temporarily unlocked it. So after 2 months, like one day I just woke up thinking, all right, I'm going to show up to work. And all of a sudden my phone, which is my source of internet, which is my means to connect with the world, just didn't work. And it's like, instead of having a sick day, you're like trying to find a way to send a fucking pigeon across the Atlantic saying, hey guys, like, my computer isn't working today. So those are real things.
Because most of the world now are having to work digitally, and there's a chunk of people who have never done that before, some of which have maybe always wanted to, and thought that'd be great to do, and actually realizing now, maybe with kids running around and having to educate and entertain, that's far from ideal. People really struggling with the tech side of things, or just being in the home environment as well. When it's, people enjoy going to a place of work or going to a gym because then they're committed to that, and it's a change of scenery. So there's a lot of struggles out there. But I mean, how long have you been? I mean, to say you've been working remotely is probably a big understatement, right? So how long, Mitchell, have you been living this digital nomad lifestyle?
So I've been doing this for March now. So come April, we're in April. It's already April. Yeah, it's 2 years now to the month.
March was a long month, though.
March was a long month. Holy crap. Yeah, it's been 2 years. Before I used to have a painting company. I used to paint houses inside, outside, the whole works, and transitioned out of that kind of contractor business and went traveling. And when I went traveling, I was like, I want to find a way to do this legit for a long time. Transitioned into a digital nomad kind of career, and here we are. I've never really known what it's like to go punch a clock or go into an office, but like James is saying, I mean, it's so crucial. You have to have the balance. It doesn't leave you. I mean, you can either be completely flooded and saturated with work and not be able to disconnect, and people get trapped with that. And then they love it. They love the illusion of being a digital nomad, but they truly don't know how to find the balance. And it's not something that you can read online, how to find balance being a digital nomad. Like, you got to get in the trenches and do it.
Yeah. I think that's a very interesting thing, because I'm by no means a digital nomad, but I had an office that I went to work, and then by choice you've gone remote. You can work from anywhere, and sort of, so for many people, myself included, it wasn't by choice. It was all of a sudden you are now digital, not necessarily a nomad, a digital static,
a digital worker.
Yeah. But it is about, I think then it comes back to that discipline, like you say, about getting that balance, because I assume in your world, a lot of the normal rules of the workplace, of the 9 to 5, of the boss mentality and things like that, they've just gone. You know, you've just and so some people relish that and thrive in that, and some people need that level of discipline, I guess.
100%. Yeah, you need to have, maybe some people have that discipline there, they can self-discipline themselves and that focus. Other people, you get lost, and it is a big bad world out there. I mean, the internet's a fucking deep place, and pardon my language, but I mean, it's crazy. You can get lost really easily.
Do you have any like tricks or tools that you use in order to keep that sort of discipline, that balance?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm plugged into my headphones, so I can grab my phone here. I've got a drum that James has seen. So I play music. I've got this thing that I play, I would say almost daily. Anytime I can get my hands on an instrument, I'm playing it. If I see something in a community that I'm passionate about, I just jump into it and just start working with those people. And other than that, I mean, just your typical stuff, you know, turn your phone off, turn your laptop off, put them in a place, have a place where you are, like, don't work in your room, on your bed, go to sleep in your bed, go to the kitchen, eat food, hang out on your bed, watch Netflix. Like, I look at the online space as this is where I go to work.
Yeah.
I'm not watching Netflix. I'm not scrolling an Instagram or Facebook feed for 2 hours a day. Like,
so you almost have a technology lockdown.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I remember that drum, Mitchell. So I was DJing one night, and Mitchell was playing that next to me. And there was also a story. We would go to a live mic night, a jamming night, which was just like twice a week in Tagazout in Morocco. And it was we'd just have the best time. The whole place would end up on all the furniture, you know, jumping around and dancing all together. It was crazy. But I think Mitchell grabbed the drum at one time, and there was a new band come on, and he started playing, and I think it was slowly taken away from them. They were a little bit precious that night, weren't they? We had a good giggle of that. But I've got a wonderful photograph of Mitchell. He's sat on like the veranda overlooking like the drop down of the ocean as sun setting, and I'll put that as the photograph to this episode, Mitchell. That's a really, really nice shot there. But we were talking, Phil, as you were saying, Phil and I were talking the other day on an episode. I forget whose episode it was, and we were talking about entrepreneurship and running a business, and you know, it's half of the time it's the buzz and the drive of why you do it, but that can also flip over and then be the cause of stress and stuff. And it's trying to find that balance in between, that fine line, which is so difficult to achieve. And I imagine that's exactly what you're saying with working remotely and traveling and dealing with all the tech issues and I imagine time differences as well with clients. I'm sure that can be a bit of a factor for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely finding that balance is important. The time differences, I think you got to know what you're getting into and have an intention as to why you're doing something, right? So for me, I spent some time in South America, Chile, Argentina. It was about 3-4 hours ahead of like your typical West Coast time zone, which is where most of the communications I'm working with is based off of as far as the time zone goes. And I came over to West Africa thinking it was great to have 3-4 hours in the morning, but now in West Africa, it's amazing, to be honest. I wake up whenever the hell I want to wake up. I do my entire day. I play my drum, I meditate, do yoga, go for a run, go walk, take photos, eat some food, drink some beers with some friends in the afternoon, whatever it is you like doing. When you figure that out, and then it's like 3 o'clock p.m. where I am is like 7 a.m. People are getting up, starting their day at work, and I'm like, all right, let's get at it. So I have the flexibility to do nothing all day and have my whole life, or I can get ahead of the curve every single day. I could wake up, do a couple hours of work. They show up, they're like, wow, Mitch has already done all of the stuff for the day that he needs to do, or we need him to like consult us on. And that's that. You have full liberty to produce when you want to produce and not produce when you're not feeling up to it. So if you can work the time zones, you can work the time zones. On the other hand, you can also get royally screwed. I have friends who've, done that. I'm going to go to Southeast Asia because it's cheap and I can work remotely from there. I can teach English, those kinds of things. And they've got clients in the States and they're on calls at 2:00 in the morning. It's like, it's not pretty.
So when you made this decision to be nomadic, yet still earn an income, what skills did you identify that you needed? How did you tool up so that you could do this? Because obviously you've come from painting and decorating, which is a very physical, location based, and all of a sudden, I'm assuming you're not selling virtual painting. So there's got to be some online skill set that you must have developed, right?
Yeah, I think just to paint a picture of what that journey might have looked like at a very high level, I actually never really painted. I maybe painted a couple houses in my entire life. It was an entrepreneurial program I went through when I was in my later years or throughout all of my kind of university college degree. And I ran a business. So I didn't really do much when it came to the painting stuff. I just couldn't sell paint jobs anymore. So I said, okay, I can't sell paint jobs anymore. What do I want to do with my life? And I said, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to be stuck to a physical location. So I just kept pinging people. And eventually I had a pretty reputable skill set in sales. So I just started selling. I got an offer to basically make outbound sales calls, which I knew was for myself way under what I was able to do. But I just thought, I got to just get into the space, get in the door and just see what happens. And within 2 weeks, went from doing outbound sales calls and inbound sales calls to qualify leads for our people who are closing the deals to coaching. They were like, look, this guy doesn't just need to do outbound sales calls. We need somebody to coach our clients. So I became a business coach. I had about 300 clients on the platform we were working with that I would coach through information products and hop on calls with them and get them through their problems. And then through that, I got an offer to basically start learning Facebook advertising, which I jumped on like that. I was like, you know what, they looked at me and they said, you want to learn, here you go. So I learned how to do Facebook advertising from there's no best Facebook advertiser in the world, but some people who had been in the space for a long time and had a lot of experience and just continued being a sponge. And now I'm doing the same thing with software development with the same caliber of people. So it's been kind of, everyone takes their own journey, but you got to have an open mind and you got to be ready to learn a lot fast and be uncomfortable.
And taking an opportunity there, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I know Phil and I have our own stories based on that of just doing something. There are so many people out there not taking action or waiting for the ideal situation or opportunity that looks great. And you're just like, no, just get on with something, because that'll start a journey, and that journey will bring things to the forefront. And like you said, within the space of 2 weeks, went from sales to then having accounts and business manager, and then you haven't looked back. And there's no greater advice than that, to just have a go, just get going and doing something, and it will lead into other things. And that's a pretty accelerated journey.
Yeah, you can't plan it, right? I mean, look at what happened in the last 6 weeks. You can't plan that. And that should just be front and forward on everyone's mind. You can't plan anything. So you might as well go out there, take action, and don't be stupid about it. Be smart about what you're doing and navigate a space with some strategy, but don't just sit around and do nothing. And don't think that you got this whole thing on control. I mean, nobody's on cruise control anymore. And I think that's very clear. And that's showing a lot of colors to people, or just shedding a lot of stuff from people who used to just be on cruise control. And all of a sudden they've been forced to change. And I know, James, we've had many conversations about this. It's you're going to get forced to change in your life. So you might as well just be changing all the time, because that's the only thing that's constant. Yeah. So learn how to change and you'll be having a great time for a long time, versus changing when you're forced to change. And then you're sitting there like a duck waiting for the pond to turn acidic. And then you're like, oh, got to change now. Got to evolve into a monkey. That's a really difficult thing to do.
It's a very interesting point that I fully agree. And Phil and I have had many conversations about this, is that even people close to me struggle with the idea and concept that I change a lot, and they think that it's out of, that it's almost, it's deemed as a negative, Fortunately, my parents years ago just accepted that I was trying all of these different sports and joining all of these clubs to test them and trial them and stuff. And they just accepted that from a very early age, which, I've got to be so thankful for. But even to this day, people who know me and are close to me, just, they almost like, oh, you don't stick to anything really, do you? It's like, I had a 6.5-year career in mental health. I've been in business 11 years, all of these things. And I'm with you. If you see an opportunity and you've got all of these plates spinning and one isn't working out in the way you might have envisaged, it's just like, right, well, I'll drop that now, knowing what I know, and I'll see how that looks and go on that path whilst I continue working on these current projects. And I think that's the spice of life, it's what drives us. We love to do that and chat about that. And the amount of, when you're meeting a lot of people, I know we all do, you're constantly learning, aren't you, and sounding things off, and you can't help but pivot and shift a little bit based on other people's experiences and knowledge. And I know when we were in Morocco, Phil, Mitchell came up with this business idea about recycling wetsuits. Because Tagazout is a surfing capital. It is a surfing capital of the world. It's like one of the top surfing spots in the world. And he was just like, there's got to be a lot of old wetsuits here that are just going to waste. And I mean, I won't tell you. In fact, tell us about that process, because it was amazing being around you, and you accelerated it so quickly from idea to creating a website and meeting with companies. And
yeah, I mean, it was what, 10 days? I had 2 weeks left in Morocco essentially, and I just realized, again, like I was saying earlier, I mean, I had to get involved with the community. I knew there was wetsuits kicking around, so I started going to all the local surf shops one morning. Like I said, I didn't have to work until 3 p.m. or whatever, so I just started doing what I'm curious about, and I just went literally door to door, essentially, down the street, all the surf shops, talking to them, seeing if they had old wetsuits, went to the tailors to see what we could do, how much they could make things for, and just started making stuff. I even have them lying around here. Like, we've got basically like that. We just made them in, like, I think I made 6 or 7 of them to prototype, and we started outsourcing stuff to India for logos and starting a website. And then I got a hint that there might be a huge factory in Casablanca, which is where my flight was out of. So I decided to go up there to see if I could network into figuring out where that supply was coming from. And everything kind of fell apart. But I mean, I could have stayed there for another month and we would have been selling these things in the shops, and that would have been great. But I had to continue my journey. They're laptop cases in theory. So they're laptop tablet cases. This one's a little small, but basically, and again, like I said, they're still kind of in prototype, but you have old neoprene wetsuits, which laptop cases are made out of neoprene already, and they are really, really hard to disintegrate and recycle. So we just started finding old wetsuits that they didn't want to give to poor children or poor fishermen to use when they were fishing, and started basically bringing them to the tailor so that you slide your laptop in there, close the flap. And we were going to print a little logo we've got stapled on there. I mean, it's all still in the works for me. Once I get home back to the west coast of Vancouver, like, there's surfing, there's wetsuits, and there's more money. There's people who will spend money on these kinds of things. So, yeah.
Brilliant. I remember Mitchell saying to me, he says, right, I've got 3 days left. It was 2 or 3 days left in Morocco, and I could either kind of stay here and then get my flight back, but I've got wind that there might be a source for these wetsuits up in Casablanca, but I'm not sure what I should do. And I was just like, well, if you go up to Casablanca and you don't find this source, all right, that might be disappointing. But if you choose not to go up there, then you'll never know. And would you look back, maybe regretting that decision? And then you just went, yeah, I need to go to Casablanca. I was like, off you went.
Yeah, the whole time I was looking online for other people doing this stuff. I found a guy in Germany who had a small e-commerce store doing it, like super small. We're talking like maybe 100 orders a year, if that. Sent him an email, got on the phone with him. The plan was, if the Casablanca thing worked out, that I would fly out of West Africa, meet him down in Casablanca, and we'd start doing this thing for real. Everything kind of fell apart, but he's still selling these things online. I keep dropping him lines saying, hey, I can help you sell more of these things. Let me help you. And we haven't reached an agreement on what that looks like yet. So I said, well, that's fine. I'm just going to go home. I'll do it myself as well. But doors always open to help people who are doing projects that are helping the world be a better place when it comes to selling stuff online.
And Facebook ads, Mitchell, just kind of going back, we touched on that a little bit. I can't remember the exact figure, but when we spoke about you working on Facebook ads, and there was a chunky figure, can you give us insight into what that figure looks like that you've been in control of in terms of online and Facebook advertising?
For sure. Yeah. So at this point, I've managed over $10 million in Facebook advertising spend over like 150 different clients in 3 different industries, essentially. So, and I've been learning from the guys who've been doing this stuff since like 2008. Like basically as soon as Facebook started opening up their advertising platform, I've been learning from the guys who've been doing this for literally 12 years now, which in this space, that's like the equivalent of talking to a civil engineer who's been doing stuff in civil engineering for 35 years or 40 years, their whole career. So I've been learning a ton from those guys, and there's a lot to learn. I've now trained over 6 people on how to run and manage our platform that does most of that spend, and moving on to software development, hopefully to change the world with some software and advertising on my own, but we'll see where that goes, because that's the goal, right? You learn things so you can teach other people so you can scale businesses. But
so what sort of software are you working on or being developed?
So we've been working on a marketing software that basically connects physical therapists with patients and like the general public, and turns those general public people into patients. Put simply, I mean, the goal of the company that I'm currently employed now with is to help people get back to normal naturally. So whatever the means is for that, because there's such an epidemic crisis, or it was already a crisis of opioids, and people going to doctors saying you need surgeries, people going to doctors saying, hey, here's some opioids, or here's some surgery, then here's some opioids, then we'll go to physical therapy. It's like, why didn't we just start with physical therapy, and then I wouldn't be $100,000 in debt, and I wouldn't be able to move anyways. Like it's crazy what that market looks like. But that's basically the software system. It's a lead management platform and a business development, like growth platform as well. So it's been quite the journey. Been working with the guy who worked with Elon Musk to build Tesla from 2011 to 2014. He basically left Tesla then and started this company, and I've been working pretty close with him and a whole bunch of other incredible people to build this software. So it's been crazy journey, but lots of learning. Like, again, beat a dead horse, but learn and change and adapt, and learn how to teach other people how to do it too.
I think business owners and employers are learning a lot now in terms of how they're able to set the businesses up. I mean, you've worked for people who clearly have either understood that or just allowed it and trusted that it would be okay to happen with yourself. But I'm reading a lot of stuff now and watching various videos on how business owners are realizing that why am I paying for that huge office space full of glass windows and cool furniture, and I'm paying for each parking space that allows my staff to come and work from this expensive location. I think I read before I went to Morocco, Mitchell, I was reading up on digital nomads and how that looks globally, and it was a thing that at that point it was estimated that 50% of all Americans would be working remotely by the end of 2022. 50%. And there's so many, the amount of people from the West Coast, from especially San Francisco, who are traveling around now, because you've got these companies in San Francisco who are saying, we'll give you money to not be based and working from San Francisco. There's almost like a package of encouragement financially to go and work anywhere around the world. As long as you deliver, then we're happy for you to do so. And I think that's maybe the kind of certainly the world leader at the moment, but maybe where it originated from as well, just with the prices of hikes from all of the huge companies like PayPal and eBay, Facebook going into Silicon Valley, and the price is just hiking up, and it making more sense to have your work team, certainly financially, working and delivering around the world. But Mitchell, what one or two pieces of advice would you offer our audience under these times? You know, if they're having to transition and pivot with business, or if they're just feeling a bit lost and not knowing where to start.
Yeah, great question. I think my advice to business owners and people who are trying to get out there and start something in this very chaotic time and trying to take risk to seize an opportunity. That seems to be what lots of people are doing. Business owners are either shutting down and not wanting to take action, or they're taking action, and in taking action, they're taking risks, but they really don't know. And I think to speak to that, the advice I'd give is to watch out for the signal and the noise. I mean, that's a principle that's been banged into me since I was basically started my online journey as a digital nomad. You really got to ignore 99% of people and focus on 1%. And I think when I started, even a few years ago, there was already a lot of these guru type people. You know, you'll get eventually cookied as you're looking for X, and then you're going to get hammered, whether it be music producing software or marketing software, or, you know, whatever it is that the space you're going to move into, software development, programs, or accounting. You know, I know how to navigate this bill like nobody else, you know, these types of people. And it's really important to have a ground in yourself and understand how to interpret that message. Is it signal? Is it noise? There's an infinite amount of noise out there, and you really have to find your signal and listen to that person or that source and go with it. But it can be very challenging. I mean, that is not an easy task to do, because if you get stuck slurping the wrong guru aid, you know, then you're down a very, 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 very slippery slope. So that's the reality of the situation. But I could sit here and talk for hours about what kind of products I'm trying to develop to deliver to the market to help with that process. But it goes everything from the way that people operate their business and how they make decisions with their business. But I think what people don't see is the decisions that they make outside of their business, and how those habits of decision makings and how they navigate the decisions around, oh, the government's recommending me to do X, therefore I'm just gonna do it. Or I'm reading one newspaper and therefore that's what I believe is true, and that's my opinion now, and things like that they don't see the impact that those kinds of decisions have on their business. I mean, you're making the same types of decisions. What should you consume as information, and what should you reject in your personal life as your professional life or your entrepreneurial journey? Some people think that their entrepreneurial journey is their life. And to those people, I would heavily warn them that hey, step back and understand that this decision-making process is everywhere for you. And you might have gone down a bit of a slippery slope, and it's important. It's vital to know and be able to extract value from the circumstances.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Careful what you filter through.
Yeah.
Normally likes to ask a question.
Pardon?
What was it? I'll let you. We haven't asked neither of us have asked your favourite question for a while now, really.
Oh, I can ask my favourite question, can I?
I was pitching it up for you to kind of battle out, yeah.
So
I don't know. Do I want to answer the favorite question? Hold up. What did I sign up for?
I personally, and you sound like you take a lot of education from people ahead of you in your journey. Social media has been something that you've mentioned there. Do you listen to many podcasts, audiobooks, read many books? Do you have anything that you would recommend, a resource that you would recommend to anyone to sort of dive into?
That is a great question. I feel like I get that a decent amount, and I'm probably going to shock you with your answer. I don't read many books anymore. I'm not reading or following any podcasts. Yeah, the people I learned from are, you know, the people that used to help Elon Musk, the people who rejected executive positions at Microsoft, and people who've sat very high up in Facebook. And I just listen to what they have as advice, and I just follow that train. I don't really spend much time consuming information. I spend more time hearing what they have to say about what's going on. I find people who are not, how do you explain this? Like, you don't just, oh, I really respect my uncle or that one friend who's really smart, and just listen to what they have to say. You find a group of people, you know, like, what's that saying? A wise man has many mentors or something like that. I forget the saying clearly, but I've just been sitting and letting those people who I've surrounded myself with, who inevitably are, in my books, very well not behaved, like they understand how these things influence themselves and other people, and I just let them filter the information for me.
Yeah.
It sounds very selfish, but I sit in the middle of a circle of a whole bunch of people who, you know, I respect, and when they say something, I take it and I filter it as I would anybody else. And I don't just like take it for what it is because it's coming from these people who know all their shit. I still read it and then do it, but I haven't read a book I'm reading textbooks right now. So I don't know if you guys want to, those aren't really the things that people read, but yeah, the last book I read was The Cognitive Theory of Media Literacy by James W. Potter. So, but it was a 500-page academic book, so it wasn't anything a normal person would pick up.
Some easy bedtime reading.
Yeah. Well, Mitchell, before we as we just wrap up, where can we direct people to you, to hook up with you, to communicate and reach out?
For sure. Always happy to chat with people. My Facebook is public to my knowledge. You basically just got to click my profile, and I've got a website, and it's got everything I've been doing for a long time. Everything from the books I used to read to the marketing stuff I know, to travel stories, to the music I produce. I mean, that's where it's at.
What's your website, Mitchell?
MitchellSteinke.com.
Well, and we'll put the link in as well. Mitchell, it's been awesome seeing your face and catching up with you. And I know you Phil and I have a skincare brand together, and you really helped us out when I was in Morocco with you, and had a look over our online presence and gave us a really nice kind of like report that fed back, and I passed on Phil's appreciation. So it's also nice to hook you guys up like this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Long time coming. So pleasure is all ours and our audience as well today, Mitchell. So fully appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thanks for inviting me on the show.
Cheers, man. Take care.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.